Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to build a chatbot using Django, React, and OpenAI's GPT-5. So right here, we have a personalized chatbot that answers questions for a particular domain. So this chat app was built and designed to answer questions for a particular university. So it only answers questions for this school. You cannot ask it any general question. You understand? So let's see how it works. Now, could you just say hi? So you can see it has some sound effects. So you're gonna learn that. So right now it says, "Hello, welcome to UniHub, the official assistant for Greenwood University." So it only helps with matters relating to Greenwood University. So I could ask it, "How do I check my results? How do I check my results?" So hit enter. Let's see. So let's wait for it. Right now, it has given me steps on how I can check my results, right? So I could ask, tell me about the hostel, tell me about the school hostel. So it has been built to work for a specific domain. So it does not work, it doesn't answer generalized questions. So we'll try that now, you see. So tell me about the school hostel. We're going to get our response, and then we proceed. So right now we've gotten our response on how the school hostel works. You can check it out. You understand? So now I'll ask you something generic. I could just say, who is the richest man? Who is the richest man in the world? Let's ask this, and let's see what it's going to say. And right now it says, "I can help with questions about courses, fees, results, registration, deadlines, and all Greenwood University matters." And it says a question like, "Who is the richest man in the world?" are outside what I am set up to handle. So you can see now it only answers questions for this domain, for the university. It doesn't answer generalized question. That is how it has been trained. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do just that using Django on the back end, React on the front end, and then we're going to use OpenAI's GPT-5. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so right now I have my Django project open. This is a blank Django project. It's completely new. So we have our project called UniApp, and then we have the app called UniApp. So right now, first thing first, right now I'm going to register this app. So the app is called UniApp. Let's get it registered first. So the code will be available for you guys in this video's description. You can check out the source code and then proceed. So you might not have to code with me, but then just follow what I'm doing so you guys know what's going on. So right now I've registered my app. So first things first, let's go to OpenAI. You need your API key, very important. So OpenAI, come on. So open, let's get to it. So you need to get your API keys. I need to show you something. So I will log in. Let me log into my account. Click on the login button, then choose API platform. Let me be sure this is recording. Okay, it's recording. API platform. So I'll be asked to log in right now. Okay, I'm already logged in, right? So you can see now we have this. So just a quick view. Let me show you. So right now we have the overview. You can see how it goes here. You can check out the click on quick start. You can follow the steps on how to go about this. So first thing first, let's install OpenAI. So click on Python, and then let's add pip install OpenAI. Go down to your Django project. So make sure you have your virtual environment activated. So right now, let's install the command. So I have my virtual environment activated. Make sure you have your space state. Hit enter. So what else we need to do? We have to create our env file .env. So let's create a .env file where we are going to store the OpenAI API key .env file. So the API key, let's call it OpenAI API key. So get our API key, and then we'll have to add that quickly. Yeah, should be equal to. So let's get the API key. So get API key. You can see create an API key. Click on this button and you can follow the steps on creating your API key. And let's get ours ready. So I have my API. I have an API key here. I can just simply I can create a new one, right? I don't think I can copy this again. I can just simply create a new API key and then we can proceed. But one thing now, so right now you can see over here, it says here add credits. So on this button, it says here add credits. I'll click on this button, go to billing. So right now on this account of mine, I have $0 in my OpenAI account, so $0, right? So for this to work, you have to have some few dollars, about at least you have to have up to so for you to be able to use this to use OpenAI like this, you have to have had to credit my account with about $5, right? So for this to generate response for me, you understand? So this is my other account. So I'm going to switch over to my account where I have credits. So right now, here's my other account where I have some credit balance, about $4.76. So you could just add some credit, $5, and then you could have this work for you perfectly. So right, so this is my other account. So I already have my API key. I showed you how you can get your API key. So right now, let's get over to the project. So I'll put in my API key here. So I'm going to copy it. So your API key could just be some random characters. Use your API key. I don't want to expose mine, so it can be some random characters. Just make sure you paste in your API key like this. There should be no space in between. Just make sure you clear out any space by the side, and then you are good to go. Right. So right now, let's go over to the views.py file. So yeah. So once we've done that, now we have to get access to our API key. So we are going to install python.env. So let's search for python.env so you can access our environment variables, right? So let's use this tool. So copy this. Let's install. Back here, paste, enter. So what are the steps to using python.env? So we have to come over here, copy, and then over to your settings.py file, over to settings.py. We have to come over here and say from .env involve import load.env. We have to copy this line to we have to also import OS, important. And then what else do we need? Yep, so we've gotten that now. So for environment variables down here, I could just scroll down and say OpenAI API key. Just copy this. Now say os.getEnv. os.getEnv. And then I'll call the name is called OpenAI API key. So we've got my API key right away. That's good. So right now I think we are done with that. So what's the next thing? Let's go over to our views.py. Yeah, so you can start creating our views right away. One more thing now, we have to install Django REST framework. So say pip install Django REST framework. It's going to be a single word. Pip install Django REST framework. All of that installed. And back here, we have to go to the install apps and add REST framework. Just come over here and add REST_framework. So we've got that now. What's the next step? As I said before, we check out how OpenAI works. We check this out. Go down to they have these clients. So let's import these two guys. Let's get them back to our views. Ouch, what am I doing? Come on. Here's the views.py. Let's clear this off. So we've imported OpenAI. So we have to pass our API key over here. So I'm going to say API underscore key. API underscore key should be equal to settings dot, remember it's called settings dot, let's check the name, OpenAI API key. So we have to pass this here, and we also have to import settings. So we're going to say from Django.conf import settings. Yeah, so we've gotten the basic workflow. Now what's the next step? Now, so right now, remember I said that the AI only answers questions for a particular school. You cannot ask it any generalized question. It's not going to give you the answer you want. So it only is trained to answer question for a particular domain. So how was that possible? So right now I'm going to show. So we are going to create a Markdown file. A Markdown file that contains instructions we are going to pass to the AI. A Markdown file that contains information about the school, where AI checks this file and then gives the students their response. It doesn't just think outside the box. No, it checks the file, what's on the file, and then gives students their response. So that's how it works. So I'll create a folder here. So right here, I'll create a folder called prompts. So in this folder, I'll create a file called, I'll just say uni help underscore templates .md. So this file is going to contain the instructions you're going to pass to AI. The AI checks this file and then gives students their answers, right? So I have the file over here. So I'll copy the contents from, remember I've already viewed this before. So here's the file here. So let's just copy this. It is a Markdown file, Control A, Control C, and I'll paste that here. So we've gotten the file now. It has the instructions for this AI. So to view this now, to see what this is a Markdown file, right? So let's view what it looks like. I want to view it. So we have a Markdown preview here. It's called Markdown Preview Enhanced. You can go down to your VS Code extension and look up Markdown Preview Enhanced. Let's see. I think it's the first one here. The first one here, Markdown Preview Enhanced. So you have to have this extension installed so you can view Markdown files easily. So right now I have the extension installed on my end, so I can click on this icon here, and then we can view what the Markdown file looks like. So you can see here's the Markdown file. This is where our AI gets its information from and then gives to students. You get, so, and it says something here. It's also on this file we also stated that it should only answer questions about the school, not outside the domain of the school. You cannot ask it who is the richest man in the world. You cannot ask it who is the best footballer in the world. No, you only ask it questions about, you can see where it says if a student asks something unrelated, you politely respond like this. So the AI checks this file and then it checks this file for instructions before it gives out response. So that's that now. So yeah, so we've gotten this is our knowledge base where AI checks and then answers students. You can ask ChatGPT to generate one for you. ChatGPT helped me generate this one. So you don't have to do it yourself. So that's that. So right here now, let's proceed. So let me copy some code from what I've done previously. So what's the views.py file? Let me I'll copy this function. Now I'll explain what it does. So this function right here helps to load up the Markdown file. You know, the Markdown file is where the instructions are about the school. So, and the file is in the prompt folder, and then we have the Markdown file. This function helps to load that up. So now I'll copy the other function whereby this is let's get this. Copy this, and I'll explain what's going on. You don't have to spend much time here. So now we've got this function now. This is a function that generates a response. If someone asks a question, this function gets the question and then generates a response. So let's import API view. An API view can be gotten from, that should be from REST framework, REST_framework .decorator import API_view. So we've got that. So right now, this is the function that generates the response from the AI, right? So right now you can see we got our system templates and it's pointing down to this function. This function helps to load up the Markdown file. I remember the Markdown file contains the instructions to the AI that the AI follows, right? So we have this variable called system template and it points down to this function. This function helps to return the Markdown file, right? And then we have the user message. This is the prompt. This is what the user types into the AI. This is the question the user is trying to ask, right? We get that here. Then we have our prompt input over here. So we have one which is the one of it as we have this is an array of objects and there are two rows. One of the rows says system. System is referring to the AI, right? And the content for this AI is the system template. I remember the system template points to the Markdown file. You get so, and then this is the other row which is the user, and the content is pointing down to the user's prompt, to what the user is asking, to the question the user is asking. And right now we have to pass everything over to OpenAI to generate a response for us. So we are using model GPT 5.1, and the input is this prompt input we have over here. We have the temperature. The temperature simply means that we want a precise answer. The temperature is 0. 0.4, and 0. 0.4, I think the temperature ranges from 0 to 1, I think, or 0 to 2, I can't really remember. But the lower the temperature, the more precise the response is, the more precise or concise, the shorter the answer. You understand? That's what this temperature means. It does not hallucinate. It does not over-explain. It gives you the answer straight up. The lower the temperature, the more straightforward the answer is. And then we have the max output tokens. It means that we can not get more than 600 tokens. 600 tokens is just like about 400 words in a stand. So that's it now. And then we get our answer. And the answer is simply response. This response is going to be an object, and it has a property called output text. So that's the answer, and then we return that as a response to the front end. You understand? So right here, we have to import response. So say from REST framework, dot response import response. So we've got that now. We have our view, straightforward view. It gets a prompt from the student, from the user, and then generates a answer based on the template we provided, the Markdown file we provided. You understand? So it's that simple. So what do we do next? Let's create a URL path for this view. So first the app. The app is called uni app. Create a new file called urls.py. And if I will say from Django. So right now I'm going to say from Django.urls import paths. Yep, let's import the paths. And then we'll say from the current folder, import the views.py file, import views. And then we'll say URL patterns. I'm going to say paths. What's the view name again? Copy this. Ctrl Z, Ctrl C. The source code is going to be in the video's description. And let's say views.chat with uni up, and the name should be equal to, yeah. So we've gotten that now, gotten our views of our URL part ready. Then let's go register this URL in the project. So if I would just say paths, I could just say let's just say AI, then /. I could just say include uniapp.urls. And right now let's import include. Yeah, so we've got that ready. So what's the next step? We have to test this. Let's test this on Postman. So run my server. Let's say Python. Let's make migration. I've not migrated yet. Python manage.py. Migrate. So we've migrated now. Let's run server. Python manage.py. run server 8001. So we're going to test this and see if it is working. Yeah, let's go. But before I test, I want to be sure my, what was it called? This URL is properly configured to the browser. Just search, let's go localhost port 8001, then AI, then / this. Let's see. Okay, it's properly configured. So back to VS Code. I open my Postman. So as for you, Postman is a VS Code extension. You can check it out. New requests. Let's ask this AI some questions. Let's see if it's working. If it's working on the back end, then we can create the front end quickly. Paste the URL. Let me copy what I have on the browser. Over to Postman. Ouch, what's going on? So it's going to be a post request. Then click on body. Body, come on. I meant to see a form here, but it's not showing. Okay, let's click on form data. So remember the key name is called message. It's called message. Back to VS Code. Over here, say message. And then let's ask, they're gonna say hi. Let's send. Let's hope we get the response we need. Hi, come on. Okay, so let's see. Pick this up. Come on. Perfect. And she give us a response. Hello, and welcome to UniHub. I am here to assist you with anything related to Greenwood University. Perfect. It's working. So what's the next step now? So let's configure Django course. So you can connect it to a React application. Django course. I think I have it over here. Just look up. You can just go out to your browser and look up Django course. Hit enter. Let's use the second link, stack.org. And then let's set up Django course so you can connect to a React application. Where's the installation package? Show yourself. Copy this pip command back to your code. Let's paste it, enter. So what else? We're gonna add course headers to our installed apps up here. Just paste it there. What else do we need? Let's add the middleware. Let's go down to the middleware section of our app. What else do we need again? And then we have to add up the origins we want to access this backend. So scroll down. So for now, I could just add more. I could just say HTTP localhost port 5173. That's gonna be our React localhost. HTTP, put in the / here, / 5173. I could let's add two more, 5174 and 5175. So right now our backend is ready. So let's go work on the front end. Yeah, so right now let's create the front end. So back to my command prompts. I could just create a new command prompt, open a new command prompt. Command prompt, let's go. Come on. So I'm going to my document directory, cd documents. Then I have a folder called React projects. Going to say cd to React projects. So in this folder now I'm going to create my React project. So I'm going to say npm create vite. So before you can do this, you must make sure you have Node installed. Go down to Node website and then make sure you have Node installed on your computer. So right now I'm going to say, so the command is npm create vit. So let's see. So let's wait for it. So I'm going to give my project a name. I'll call it my uni app. Then package name, just hit enter. So we're going to choose React, use the arrow keys, pick React. We'll stick with TypeScript. And then the command now, I'm going to say cd my uni app. And then run npm install. So let's give this some time. It's going to take some few moments. Let's wait for it. So we are done with the npm install. So what's the next command? So let's open this on VS Code. I'm going to say code then dots. So we are trying to open our React app on VS Code. Come on. So it's open. Perfect. So first thing first, we'll do a simple cleanup. Go down to the source folder. Open your app.txs component. Wipe out is just Ctrl A. Remove what you have there. Then run the command. Let's run this command RAFCE. So with this command, you can easily create a React component. RAFCE. Come up, I'm waiting for a suggestion. RAFCE suggested. Why are you taking time? RAFC. Yeah, so here it is. Any of them. Yeah, so you have a simple React component created. So how do I get that? There's an extension called EX7. Let me see. EX7 React Redux. Yeah, the first one. EX7 React Redux React Native. So with this extension, you can run that snippet to create your component ASAP. So we've gotten our app components. Yeah, it's there now. You can ignore the app.css or you can delete it if you want to. It's not needed. So right now, let's go and configure Tailwind. Very important. So it's simple. Go down to Tailwind. And then click on Docs. Currently, we are using Vite and it's on Vite. So scroll down. Right now, we've created our React project. It has been created. So run this command, npm install Tailwind. Copy it back to your React project. Let's go on our terminal, new terminal, then command prompt, paste, enter. So what else? We have to add this line to the vitconfig.txt file. Copy this line, vitconfig.txt. And we have that here. Paste it. And we have to add Tailwind into the plugins, into the plugins array. Yep, that's done. So what's the next step here? So we have to add import Tailwind CSS into the index.css file. So I'll clear out the contents of the index.css, Control A. This is our global CSS file, index.css. So I have to paste in this line, import Tailwind CSS. So that's done. We can then, yeah, it's done now. So what next? We have to also set up chat.cn because we'll be using some chat.cn components like buttons. To the browser, let's look up chat.cn. So the first link, click on docs, then click on vits. So these are the, so first thing first, create a React project, set up Tailwind. So we've done that now. So first thing, let's add this to our tsconfig.json file. We'll copy this session. We're going to add it after the reference array, tsconfig.json. So after the reference array, paste what you copied. Yep, that's the first step. So go over to your tsconfig.app.json. So copy this part and go into the compiler options, tsconfig.app.json. Compiler option, here's the compiler option. So just paste the line we copied. It could be anywhere you want to. Let's just scroll down here and paste it. Here it is. What else? Yep, so now we have to run this command npm install type node. Come on. Enter. And now go over to vitconfig.tx. Copy this to and head over to vitconfig.tx. We'll paste those two lines. We already have tailwind there already, so we have to remove tailwind. So what else do we need to do there? So these plugins, copy these plugins. Am I correct? Okay, just copy these plugins like this. Copy the entirety of it and come over here and replace the plugins we have here. So we've got that. What's next? So now we're asked to run this command. Enter. And what next? Okay, let's wait for the command. So click say yes. Okay to proceed, yes. So right now it's asking for the color you want to go to. Let's choose zinc. Use the arrow keys, select zinc, enter. You can pick whichever one you want, but I prefer zinc. So right now is installing the dependencies. Installing dependencies. Come on, let's wait for it. So it's done. You can say success, project initialization completed. So you can just add the button ASAP. This is the button components from Chatbot. Paste, enter. So with this now, we are done with the basic setup. So let's wait for it to install. It's currently installing. We're done with the basic setup now. So right now, let's go write some front-end code to consume the backend API. So see you in the next episode. Yep, so right now, let's install Ashes. With Ashes, you can make API requests to the backend. So I'm going to say npm install Ashes. So now over here, I'll create a file called, let's call the file services, new folder, call the folder, call it services. So this folder, the folder is I created the folder inside of the lib folder. So in this folder, I'll create another file called api.tx. So over here, you have to import Ashes. So you want to make an API request to the backend, I'm going to say import Ashes from Ashes. So right now we create a function that is going to make an API call to our backend, right? So I'm going to say function prompt, we just call it prompt GPT-5, prompt OpenAI rather, let's call it prompt OpenAI. So right now this function takes in an object which is of type message, and the message is of type string, right? Remember, if you go back to the backend, you can see the backend expects a message, this message text instead. So what's the front end? So the front end is going to send an object with a property called message, and the message is of type string. So right now we're going to do our try catch. So it's going to be an asynchronous function. So we're going to put in async in front. So put in the try catch here, say const response should be equal to, I'm going to say await ashes.post. So where are we posting to? We are posting to this endpoint. We copy it in the browser, just copy this. Right, and then we're passing data, this data up here. So over here, we just come over here and just say return response of data. And then we're going to check out for the catch. In case there's any error, we want to catch it over here. I'm going to say catch is of type, error is of type unknown. So I'll say if ashes dot is ashes error. If the error is an ashes error, I'm going to simply throw a new error. I'm going to say throw new error just come over here and say error.response dot data dot error, right? Or if it does not exist, we're going to just say return error dot message. Yeah, so we have to make sure this can be exported so we can import it. So we have to export it so we can be able to import it in another file. So this function makes our API call good. So right now, what's the next step? So back to our React. This is the React. So back again. Let's continue. So right now we are done with our API function. So go over to your source directory. In source directory, there's a folder called components. We're going to create a new folder inside of the component folder, and we'll call this folder chats. And in this folder, we'll create our chatbots components. Let me call chatbots.txx. So with the React, remember we have a snippet called RAFCE. It helps us to create a component. Yep. So we've gotten our chatbot component there. Some more thing I want to also add our sound. Remember, whenever we ask the AI question, there is this sound effects, right? So right here, so right now I'll create a folder called sound inside of the assets folder. I'll create a new folder called sounds. So I'll drag in. I think I have the sounds here. Let me drag them in. Notify and pop. Come on. Let's what's going on. So let's drag them in. So the sound folder. Yeah, paste it there because we have them there. Good. So we have our components called chatbots. So right now, let's start building. So right now, let's start building the components. Let's start building it up. So I'll get the a basic components, basic components here. This is a simple one. Remember, I've worked on this before. So here's just the raw components. No implementation yet. Right, simple. So we have to install some stuff. We have to install React Markdown, React icons. So with React Markdown helps us to render the text in a beautiful way. We understand. You can see sometimes the text comes with some bold text. So sometimes it comes with bullet points. So that's because of React Markdown. React Markdown makes those things appear good, look good, right? So we're going to run npm install React Markdown. Hit enter. So we have to create this component called typing indicator. Go down to your components folder inside of the chat folder. Inside of the chat folder, create a new file. Typing indicator. That's just like our loader .txx. So I'll copy the code for typing indicator from here. Don't worry, I'll give you guys the source code. Here's our typing indicator. Okay, so React Markdown has been installed. So let's install React icons. React icons. Let's make this smaller. Closing some of this stuff we don't need again. So chatbots. Let's import typing indicator. Click on it and hold down Control and period. Add imports. So we have our Markdown. We have our React icons installed. React Markdown installed. Typing indicator. The typing indicator component has been created. So this is our basic workflow. We've not started yet, but we'll soon start. I'll explain what's going on. So over here we have our GSS. So over this upper part we have here, for example, this region is where we display the messages, the user prompt. So whereby I can ask a question, hi, and then I get a response. So this is where it is being displayed, and it's coming from this messages array. Right, the messages array, right? That's where it's coming from. Remember that whenever you ask the AI a question, it takes some time before it responds. So while it is trying to generate a response, it takes some time. So we have to show a loading indicator. That's where this component comes in, this typing indicator. So whenever a spot typing is true, we'll display the loading indicator just to show you that something is going on. If there's an error, we're going to display the error on the screen there. Right? So simple. And then we have our form. This is where the user passing their prompt. Because say, hi, how can I check my results? Tell me about the school. You get, so it's from this form it is being passed. Nothing complex. Let's run our, so we have to pass this chatbot over to the app component. So over here, so just say chatbot. So you can see it on the screen on the browser. Come on, chatbots. Yeah, hit enter. Yep, so we've got that now. So what do we do next? Let's run the server. So say npm run dev. Hope my PC is recording this. Thank you, it's recording. So open this, hold down control and click on this URL. Let's see what we have on the screen. Come on. Good, you can see we have our search bar. Perfect. Yep, so it's good. We have our typing area. Yep, so that's perfect. So what's the next step? So right now we're going to add a new state called prompt. We'll say const prompt or the set prompt. So this prompt is going to be this prompt state is going to be what's going to hold what the user types in the search in the form, right? So we're going to just say use states an empty string. So the default value of prompt is an empty string. So we want to update the value of prompt whenever a user types into this form, right? So go down to the form area. Here's the form area, this text area here. So I'm going to add an onChange effect, an onChange event. I'm going to say onChange. So we're going to say, put in the event handler there. And we'll simply just say set prompt to e.target.value, e.target.value. Yeah, and then we have to pass in the value of this field to be equal to prompt. Right, and one more thing, I want to make sure that this button is disabled. Remember, this button, I want to make sure the button is disabled when the form is empty. So what do we do? So come over here and we'll say disabled should be equal to prompt dot trim. So I'm going to trim up the prompt, make sure that there is no empty spaces, there is no white space on the edges, on the edge of the text. So I'm going to say prompt dot trim dot length. If it is less than 1, so I want to make sure the button is disabled if the prompt is if there is nothing in a stance. So if you put in an empty space here, you can see button is not disabled. If you put in an empty space here, it is seen as nothing, right? Because of the dot trim. So if I put in the text, you can see the button becomes active. So what's the next thing now? So whenever we add something, if I say hi, if I type in hi there and I send, I want to make sure that my text appears up here. So what do we do? Simple. Let's create a function that handles that. I'm going to say function handle prompting. Yeah, so you have to take in an event handler, which is going to be of type React.form event. So first thing first, you have to make sure you prevent the default behavior of the browser, which is I'm going to say e.prevent defaults. Once that has been done now, so what do we want to update these messages? Once you update it, going to copy it. It's my text too small. I feel the font size is small. So once you update this messages state, once you update, I'm going to come over here and just say set messages. So you're going to get the current value of messages. I'm going to call it current. Right, then we'll create a new array and then we'll destructure we are going to spread out the current value of messages. And then we'll pass in a new message. And our message is of type message array. This is the type. This is the structure of our message. So our message is simply an array of these objects, this kind of objects, right? So come over here and create a new object, and the content is going to be equal to prompt, right? And then the role is going to be equal to user, right? Role should be user. That's what it should be. So we are going to simply call this, we'll call this function whenever the button is being clicked upon. So over here, we're going to add on submit. Then we'll call the function. So let's see how it goes. So I'll just say hi, send, perfect. You can see now why this happens is because the messages state was updated. So if we do this, want to also clear out the form. How do we go about that? Here's the function. We'll just come over here and say set prompt to an empty string. So click again. Hi, form is cleared. So we'll do the same thing if you click on the end, if you type in something here and hit enter, want to be able to send this prompt also. So let's do that right away. So right now, whenever we click on the enter key on our keyboard, we want to be able to send the prompt also, not just by clicking on the button. So I'll paste this function here. So ignore this here. So what is happening here? Let's import keyboard event. Come on. I think it's imported this from. Let me just copy the line from here. Can't remember where it's been. Yeah, here it is. Import type keyboard event from React. Sorry, let's do something. Click on use state. Let's import use state again. Control and period. Okay, so now we've gotten this undo key down. So what's happening here now? So we're passing the event handler, and this is the type of the event handler. This is the TypeScript type of the event handler. So we are saying that if the user clicks on enter and not the shift key, if you click on enter and not shift, what we want to do is that I want to simply call this same stuff here. What goes on here? I want to call it. I want to call this same thing. If the user clicks on enter and then, remember if you click on enter, if you hold down shift and enter, it should go down to the next line. So we are saying if enter and not shift key, and there is no shift key, you just call this same thing. The same thing that's happening here, you call it, right? And then we're going to call this now on the form. I'm going to say on key down. Come over here and say on key down, call this function. Call the function now. So we want to also add our audio effects. Remember, we have our audio and they are imported from, you can see how the pop sound is coming from assets, then sounds, then pop.mp3. We have a notification sound coming from assets, is all there. Assets, sounds, then notify.mp3. So we've initialized them here. Say pop audio equal to new audio pop sound, and then we put in their volumes. So I want to also add my pop sound. I'm going to come over here, add the pop sound. Whenever we submit a prompt, send a prompt, I want to add that pop effect, that sound effect. So I'll add it whenever I click on the button, I'm going to say pop.play. And whenever you click on enter, the same thing happens, pop audio.play. We can see now we are repeating ourselves here, in these two functions, the same thing. You can just simply come over here and just say function. Let's just call it pass prompt. Yeah, should I pass prompt? And then I could just copy this common stuff here and then paste it inside here. So I can now call this function directly here than having to type those things sorry, I can now call this function pass prompt in the two. This is when you click on the button, when you submit the button by clicking on the button. This is when you submit the button by hitting enter on your keyboard. So I can paste that same function here, pass prompt. So now we don't have to repeat ourselves, like, yeah, so the function undo all those duplicates. So now let's try and see if we hear our sound, and over here, we just come over here and say hi. Send. You hear the sound. Come over here and say hello. Hit enter. The same thing. Perfect. So what's next thing? The next step now is that I want to send this prompt to our backend. You know, the backend is expecting this message, so you can give us a response from OpenAI. So how do we do that? Let's work on that next. So right now, let's pass the prompt to the backend, right? Remember, I already have a function they created here. Check out the lib folder, then services, then api.tx. We have this function. So now let's pass the prompt to this backend. Let's pass the prompts to the backend using this function. So back here, I'll create a new function. I'll call it here. Just a function undo prompt OpenAI. Prompt OpenAI. So what do we do? I'm going to put in the try block. This is going to be an asynchronous function, async. So yeah, you're going to say const response should be equal to await. We're going to await the prompt. Remember, we have the function here called prompt OpenAI. So we're going to await. So it's going to say prompt await prompt OpenAI. And this OpenAI prompt, this await prompt OpenAI, it needs it needs this data, what was it called? This data per argument, and data is of type message, has a property called message, and is of type string. So do the same thing over here. I'm going to pass the same thing here. This is the object. It has the property called message, and that message is of type string, right? And our prompt is what we need to pass there, and our prompt is of type string, right? Our prompt is of type string. So just passing our prompt there. Yeah. So now we can just say console.log response, and then we'll catch the error in case there's any error. I'm going to say unknown, error of type unknown. So over here, could just say if error is an instance of error, if error instance was happening. So just this for me, I can't remember what it's called. If error instance, so just it, yeah, instance of error. If error instance of error, could just say set error to error.message. To error.message. Yep, so we've gotten this now. So once also add, remember we have this loader here, set is bot loading. So when this function is called, we want to set the value of is bot loading to true. So if the function is successful or if the function fails, we want to also, we are going to come over here we are going to come over to the finally block and then set the value to false, regardless of what happens. If the function succeeds, if the function fails, or if the function succeeds, we want to set its bot type into false. That's how it's meant to be. So now we've gotten this function now. So now when do we call this OpenAI, this prompt OpenAI, this function called undo prompt OpenAI? We call it whenever we submit the form by clicking on the button or by hitting enter on your keyboard, right? So now we're going to call this function, Ctrl C, over here, Remember, we consoled the response. Let's see what the response looks like. I can call it over here, call the function here. Let's see. Back here, we just say, let's go down to the console and see what we're going to get as a response. I'm going to say hi, hit enter. I was expecting to see our typing indicator, but it didn't show. Hope nothing is wrong. I was expecting to see a loader up there. I hit enter. Sorry, I was meant to click on the button because the function is called on undo prompting, and undo prompting is what submits the form when the button is clicked upon. So I can copy this same guy and put here. Yeah, so let's put it in both sides. So remember, these two functions submit our prompts. You understand? So it sends the prompt it helps sends the prompt to the backend. These two, when you click on the enter button or when you click on the or when you hit enter on your keyboard. So we can pass the functions there. I could just come over here and say hi. Click here. Yeah. Also, you can see our loader is now present. So we are going to see a response here. We throw an error, cross origin request blocked. So it's trying to say that it can't access our backend. And on the backend, we already had Django course configured. And I'm surprised it is not working. Do I need to run the server? Oh, I need to run my server. My server is not running. Let's run the server on port 8001. Port 8001. If it's on port, you can see through an error called network error. Thank you. So what do we do now? Port 8001. So back to the front end. I need to change this to 8001, not 8000 again, because my server is currently on port 8001. So let's try again. Say hi. We're going to see the response in the console. Oh, this error is not meant to show again, but it's still there. We'll work on that. Come on. It's still loading. Yeah, you can see now we got our response. Hello, welcome to UniHelp, the official assistant for Greenwood University. This is the response on the console. Perfect. So now let's get that response. So you can see instead of calling this guy twice, these two functions, undo prompt API twice, you can just simply pass it into this pass prompt. Could just pass it here. Right? Yeah, and then we don't have to call it multiple times. Yeah, that's what it should be. So right now we've gotten our response back from this undo prompt API function. So right now I want to update the messages states. So I'll come over here and say set messages. Now get the current value of messages. Then we're going to simply spread it out in a new array. Spread it out. Right now, I have another object. Got another object. I'm going to say content should be equal to response. Remember that response is an object itself. It's an object. Ouch, it has gone off. Response is an object itself, and that response has a property called response. It has a property called response. The response object also has a property called response. So I'm going to say content should be equal to response. And the role of the user is going to be bots. The bots. Remember I said that our messages has a type, it has a content, which is a string, and a role which can either be user or bots. If the message is coming from the user, if it's coming from the form, what the user types, it's going to have a role of user. If the message is coming from the response from the backend, it's going to have the role of bot because the response is coming from OpenAI. It's coming from the bot's OpenAI, right? And over here, we did some conditioning here. While mapping through messages, we checked if the role is user, give it the blue style. If else, give it the gray style. the blue style is for the user role, while the gray style is for the bot role. That's what we did here, right? So that's it now. And one more thing, let's also remove, let's also, that's error message needs to disappear. So over here, I could come over here and then say set error to an empty string. Yeah, it request is successful. Set error to an empty string. So we've got this done. Now let's see if it works. Refresh. Now we are going to see our response on the app. I'm going to say hi. Let's just for our response. You can see now. You can see we got our response on the app, and it's looking this fine because of we are using React Markdown. If you look over here, React Markdown, what we are using here to display the content of the message, right? That's what makes it look this fine. So now it's now being rendering. That's good. So one more thing, I want to also add the sound effects when we get our response from the back end. So how do we go about that? We're gonna just call this notification audio. Whenever we get our response, we just play the sound effect. Yes. So we've got this now. Perfect. So yeah, let's see. I'll just say, how can you help me? How can you help me? Hit enter. How can you help me? So we're also going to add a scroll effect. So whenever you type a new prompt, it scrolls down to the new prompt. So we are I can't see right now, it didn't scroll, but we have some things there to show. So let's add this scroll effect. So it asks it how it can help me, and it's giving me how it can help me. Right, so now let's add the scroll effect. So over here, we're gonna create a state called last response. Yeah. So right now, let's add a new state called last message ref. Remember, we want to add a scroll effect whenever you type in something and get a response. We want to scroll down to the last message, the last one. You understand? Because it's not happening. If I say, help me with courses, help me with results. You see, it doesn't scroll down. It doesn't scroll, but something is there. You scroll now, you can see we need to add that scroll effect. So let's work on the scroll effect right away. So you're gonna say const last message ref. Last message ref is gonna be equal to, we're gonna use the use ref hook. Use ref. It's gonna be the value is gonna be null. So let's give it a type first. It's gonna be HTML div elements. I think I'm correct. HTML. Suggest it for me, please. HTML div. Suggest it. I want div element. I'm not sure if I'm spelling this correctly. Or it's gonna be of type null or HTML div element. So let's import use ref. Go down control and period. So now go down control and period now. It's not coming up either. We just copy it and import it from React. Okay, update import from React, click on it. Perfect, I have use ref off there now. So we are going to add the use effect hook. Let's say use effect. So we are going to monitor whenever our messages get updated. We want to monitor it and then do something. Whenever our message state gets updated, we want to simply add that scroll effect. So we're going to add messages to the dependency array. It's there now. So let's import use effect. Hold down control and period. Click on it. Hold down control and period. It should come from React. Control and period. Yep. So it's up there. So now we're going to say last message ref dot current. Then adding the optional chaining. I'm going to say okay, last message dot current dot scroll into view. Yeah, help me. Sometimes I don't remember the spellings, right? Scroll into view, and there's going to be behavior of smooth. So what we are trying to do now. So we are going to add this. Want to add this ref on the last message on the screen. So we're going to scroll down here. This is where we have our messages. Here's the messages. It's up here. So we're going to add a ref hook to this div. I'm going to come over here and say ref should be equal to last message ref. But once we add it to the last, want to add it to the last message, not just any of the messages, to the last one. So how do you go about that? So right now we're going to say if this index, remember this index starts from 0, then remember the first message has an index of 0, the second message has an index of 1, and so on. So I'm going to say, come over here, I'm going to say if index is equal to messages, remember messages is an array. If it's equal to messages dot length minus 1 dot length minus 1. If it is so I want to simply add the last message ref to that message. Else we are going to just simply return null. Right? That is how it's meant to be. So this last message ref is added. This ref is added on the last message. So we are checking because each of these messages have an index. And we are checking that if any of their index is equal to the length of the array minus 1. You understand? So remember, let's say we have one message. Well, let's say we have one message in the array. So I'm going to say 1 minus 1 is 0. And the first message has an index of 0. So if they are both equal, we're going to add the last message ref to that message, right? So that's what it's doing. I hope you understand. So, and this will keep running whenever we have messages updated. Whenever a new message is being added. So now let's try again now. I'll just say hi, right? I feel that the sound effect comes in late. You can see now it scrolls. Now just say, tell me what you do. It now scrolls. Tell me what you do. It will keep scrolling to the last message. It's going to say there's going to be a scroll now. Come on, it scrolls now. Perfect. So our chat app is we're almost done. So we have the last message ref. With this now we can point down to an element on our DOM, right? And then we have to make sure that this keeps scrolling to view whenever messages get updated. And we have to add this last message ref we have to add this state to the last message we have on the screen. That's what we needed to do. So I think we are good to go. Everything works as planned. But one more thing, let's give it some chatbot feeling. We don't want to use this default favicon and default title. So the browser, just search for from emoji to favicon. Okay, still recording. So click on the first link from CSS Tricks. Click on it. Hope it's the link I need. So copy this now. Copy this link tag. Copy it to your browser, to your code down. Go down to your index.html file. It's there. Where are you? Index.html. Yeah, here it is. So we can replace what we have here. Just comment it out. Paste the new one. So we are going to replace this emoji with a robots emoji. Let me check out my emoji now. Let's see. I think I have robot there. Add robots. It's there. If you're on Windows, hold down Control. I think hold down Window and period. Your emoji bar will pop up, right? And then we're going to come over here and call this my uni help. My uni help. Yeah, that's fine. The browser is going to change now. Look at the title bar. Come on. Yeah, my uni up. That's good. So, hello. Come on. Who is the richest man in the world? Who is the richest man in the world? It's not meant to answer this question. Who is the richest man in the world? No, it's not meant to answer this question because that was not. It was not meant. It's meant to answer only questions for the about Greenwood University. So it didn't give us an answer. It just told us what to ask it. So we've gotten our chatbot done. It's beautiful. If you gain some value, please subscribe, like the video, drop a comment. The source code is available to you guys in this video's description. We'll see you again in the next video. So stay blessed and bye bye.